forward. So we'll have to see what it does here for Team Envy. Dignitas versus Envy, we're into picks and bans phase 1. We'll see what the teams have done for their homework.
Yeah, and like we said about Dignitas, their changes were mostly communication, more English lessons, Big being added to the roster as opposed to Special. Big will be starting, and we'll see what that does to the bottom lane here. And Team Dignitas, remember, they played best when they were reactive to what the enemy was doing, but also they played best when Ssumday was actually on tanks, and he played to Chaser and Keane and Lod, and actually just kept roaming. So I want to see what happens here in this split. Are we going to see more of that Fiora for Ssumday, that split push monster, the guy that he's known to be? Maybe not, because they're banning it out, but I want to see what the style is for Dignitas. So are they trying to become a more well-rounded team where Ssumday gives away his resources? Because he had the best laning stats out of all top laners in NA.
Well, you almost know it's guaranteed you're going to go up something like that against Seraph, right? When has the guy really played tanks? I mean, he can, but it's always trying to carry from that lane, have a split push advantage from that lane. So Ssumday almost knows the type of matchup he's going to get. Denied in engage, and a little bit of that top lane from the Team Envy side. Same for Dignitas with Fiora and a bot lane focus and the Caitlyn.
The ban at Hakuho as well. So Apollo and Hakuho, this is the bottom lane they love to run, the Caitlyn and the Xayah. Hakuho was really good at those mage supports, Malzahar, Xayah, etc. And kind of floundered on some others, but he definitely had standout performances where he could win his team the whole game. And some of Envy's victories came off of his late game plays with things like Xayah.
Priority to come in now. Elise being seen quite a bit as of late. Now she will be banned out on the list.
Chaser still has the opportunity to get Elise in later on, but Galio or Shen is what I would expect the first pick to be here, especially Galio, because he's just so safe with the Fiora ban. Huh? Really? Okay. So they go for the Thresh here. That is really interesting because I mean, he's a really good champion now. He has a very high win rate in solo queue. Playmaker, Big might be able to start things off with his debut here on Dignitas.
Yesterday, Olay had 3 Thresh bans against him. Teams are definitely respecting that throughout practices and what they've seen. So Big's going to be playing with comfort, and now the calls from that bot lane, as we were saying. Seraph takes in the Xayah. Rakan still available. This could be another combo that we see as we did yesterday from Chronologic Gaming.
Yeah, playing Rakan into Thresh. There are some interactions that get a little bit strange. Don't know if he'll play it into it, but we'll see. The Xayah, though, for Apollo, a little odd suit for him because he's a very defensive AD carry who likes to play things like Caitlyn, play from a range. We think back to his Kog'Maw, we think back to his Fusion days, and they are going to lock in the Rakan here and have the duo.
I said it because it's fancy, right? You get that duo, you get the back fun, but you're right, it is easily countered. A quick flay, a hook in, there's that pause moment for Rakan to land on the ground, have to get out for the Z.
Yeah, and
makes it difficult.
Exactly, and they know that the Rakan is a good pick here because the Thresh, melee support for all intents and purposes, in terms of his range, that you don't have to worry about getting poked out of lane by like a Karma, etc. But this is interesting because the Twitch, very unsafe to play against this bottom lane that can engage on you. But Lot is looking for a little more firepower. Lot had a pretty underwhelming split, but I like this Shen pickup here and go for a Submarine.
Lot has said, though, this is the team where if the mistakes are made, it's on him. He's got all of the things that he needs around him. So he does take that power to Twitch for this pick.
And you talked about the power and like the mistakes are on him. Well, the Shen in the top lane for one of the best players on the team, Ssumday, once again playing a tank that plays around his team. So he'll be looking for those stand Uniteds onto people like Lod to keep him safe.
Syndra pickup already as well. Things are going quick here for the first set of picks, but a little back and forth. At least for the mid now and top.
Yeah, and now I expect Fizz Echo as the bans here because it's Keane. Keane knows counter picks like the back of his hand. And now the next thing as well is the Vladimir going to be coming out after that because you don't get those 3 bans, you only get those 2. And we'll see because there are a decent amount of Syndra counters, and I assure you Keane knows multiple.
Definitely pretty safe for Pirean, though, to feel comfortable in this first game. A lot of combo making, or I should say creation of combos that you can make with this team from left and right, the Fog of War, and you can instantly have an engage. Where do they get the tank from here for Envy? You see the second phase of bans coming through with that Fizz and Jarvan being banned out, as we saw some top lane love from him yesterday, and the Renekton also going in his place. And there's a ban of LeBlanc from Envy.
All right, so no Echo ban here. Could have a double teleport composition from Team Dignitas if they do pick up the Echo, but It would be a melee range champion that can get charmed up by the quickness very easily. Like the top lane bans here to make sure that the Shen has a little bit of priority, or you have to play something a little bit out of the wheelhouse. We'll see what Seraph has. We know him for his counter picks as well. The Jayce would do that.
This actually puts a lot of range in, and then a quick commitment from Apollo on the Xayah with his ability to get out could keep him safe.
And it's interesting because this composition from Team Envy, Xayah is most powerful when she is kiting backwards and has Rakan. And this is a composition that you want to engage on. You want to throw the hooks, you want to take them, you want to have the Shen go in, and then that's perfect for the Xayah to disengage and get away from, especially when you have a Jayce. Jayce will poke you from afar, counter to Jayce, get that hard engage going.
More shields.
Yep.
It is going to be a LOD-style game here that Dignitas is going to put together. Quick engages from Big and Ssumday. We'll see what they get out of the jungle here.
Possibility for Gragas to come through. Lee Sin also on the table. The Rengar is the other one that we haven't seen a whole lot of, but it's something that Chaser's comfortable on.
All right. So
you have multiple ways to start a fight with Shen.
Absolutely.
2 stealths, 2 ways to just flank laners. This could be pretty deadly for Team Envy if they don't keep their sides warded.
Yeah, creating fog of war for Envy, that's the opposite one. Ooh. Making sure they have vision to create these long-range attacks. The Ivern actually getting through the pick and ban phase, and that's 2 junglers from Envy that they banned out.
Yeah.
In that sense as well.
Interesting that they would go for the Ivern here and Team Dignitas wouldn't, because you'd think the Ivern is great for rounding out a composition like Team Dignitas's, but it just seems like Chaser, more comfortable on an aggressive champion, doesn't want to sacrifice the early game. And now Team Envy have a little bit more defensive power in that jungle for LirA to help out. Remember, we've talked about LirA. Some of the best early game stats for all junglers in the league. #1 considered voted best jungler in the spring split. And it's just insane. He's going to be on this non-carry champion.
It's kind of like seeing an MSI when you're like, wait, did Peanut pick Ivern?
Yeah.
Is this going to happen right now? You can't kill on that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we want to see those kills, those highlights. The shield highlights.
And the Lee Sin was left up for both of these junglers as well. One of the junglers at the top of their list from the spring split.
Exactly. Chaser played it a whole bunch. LirA, did like the champion. Favored things like Elise a little bit more, but definitely think that LirA has a very diverse champion pool. He even showed us like an AD Nidalee once, the only person to bring that thing out.
What do we got? Rage and engage and kite and fight. Rage engage left side, kite and fight right side. Hashtag Dig win. Hashtag Envy win. We'll see how these teams duke it out as we start off our second day, or I should say, continue our second day of the summer split of 2017. Can't believe we are already here.
I know. It's
absolutely crazy.
3 games we got early.
The 3-game
2-0 from Echo 5.
And we're finishing the FlyQuest, and no. All right, we're on the Rift. We will have to see what happens game 1. We've been getting a good amount of best of 3s here to start things off as teams have been able to test each other to the max. And a few fast games today as teams were able to get under each other's skin. We'll see how this one plays out right now.
I like the Doran Shield start here from the bottom side of the map. Apollo with the Doran Shield.
More and more of those.
Yeah, every tick of Twitch Poison actually resets the Doran Shield passive that keeps ticking. So it's actually like 16 to 18 seconds of regen instead of 10. So it's really powerful against Twitch, but Twitch buys it because he wants to circumvent his laning weakness. But the other thing here that's interesting is Hakuho didn't go for the Ancient Coin, doesn't want to play the little mini game where he's picking things up, especially in a melee matchup. You would expect it to happen, but he's gone for Spell Thieves. He's gone for the need to harass and get some spells down to get gold.
Prefer Spell Thief as well. I mean, especially we think about Hakuho's play style in the amount he likes to engage, the amount he likes to try and do damage. You get a little more regen, a little more damage early with that.
Yeah, and then when he converts it over and it has the quest completed, gives him 50% movement speed for 1 second. It's definitely the best quest out of all of them. And for Rakan, means you jump in with the quickness, hit somebody, and you're 50% faster on top of your fast movement speed.
Hit him with the quickness.
Just keep going. So it gives him potential to get more out of the charm, but that's in the mid-late game. Does have to get to that point, though, so you'll have to at least auto-attack or harass with the very low range of Rakan. And just double-checking it. Yeah, 300 range, so outranged by most ranged champions. Thresh actually outranges him by 150.
Yep.
So it's just a longer melee attack, but considered ranged.
Get you in some sticky situations. They're actually trying to get autos on to get this wave pushed. They will deny the first 3 nicely. And even more. Or just 1, actually. I'm sorry. I counted wrong. Let's count backwards.
All good. And they perfect CS the first wave. This right here. Ugh. This is why the combo is so good. Is Xayah popping her W and using the deadly plumage, which puts the attack speed and movement speed burst on her every time she gets those autos.
Yeah.
It also puts it on Rakan if he's nearby, so she gets extra damage output. It equals to about 20% increased damage for just having Rakan next to you, which is just disgusting. Especially when you're taking turrets, it makes it much faster as well.
And as an opponent, it's easy to see if you're looking for it in the swirl, but can definitely take someone by surprise. A quick level 2 here for Grand Entrance is a possibility. Keane to step out. They're looking for 1 more auto, and it might be on this wave here as he's going to go for that melee. Yeah,
but the fact that he actually showed himself, Hakuho poked out for half second, and they saw him and pinged him out. So his roam didn't really cost too much CS for Apollo. Does mean that he won't hit level 3 at about the same time, though. Big, I believe, up a little bit in experience, just slightly. I actually really like the design of Rakan Q, where you hit somebody and then you have to kind of play the fetch quest and bring the heal back to your teammate. Come here, Apollo. No. It feels great because it just feels like he's running, like just playing fetch all the time, and I like that.
It is nice because you can also make a Q and then a battle dance play, bring it over real fast.
It's a great thematic thing as well. It's like the bird goes out, it's like, you like yellow, and then it goes back to him.
I'm sure that's what he did. Another heal. Just quick hits, not too much damage, not something that
it's not too much healing either.
Leveling. Yeah, not too much healing either. It's kind of that we dove a turret, hopefully, and you need about 80 HP.
Yeah, exactly. And the healing isn't that much. It's like 45, and it actually goes up based on level, not rank in the spell. So it's to encourage you to max the W, the big playmaking ability, the grand entrance from Rakan, so you can make those plays instead of harassing in lane or something like that.
A good roam. You can see each time it kind of plays out like an Ashe lane, but with more roaming, since I believe Hakuho will maybe just be able to get in and out more dodging with the grand entrance if he needs to. But they push it, he roams, clears wards. They continue to have vision on this side of the jungle.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this could potentially backfire onto Apollo at some point when Hakuho leaves, but he's playing safe enough. And I talked about how Xayah is most powerful when you're engaging on her and making a play because of her feathers and their positioning. So it just seems like Dig don't want to walk up and make a play on her because of the potential of the turnaround.
We'll see, again, the different play from LirA here on the Ivern. Usually at the end of the season, this was a Fervor Nidalee diving turrets at level 4 and 5. Here we're setting up for ganks from the river.
Yeah, was predicting Chaser to be on the bottom side of the map during that time based on his Raptors, and they were warded out. Means he had already cleared his Raptors twice, so he was on that side doing a bot side clear. So he stuck around a bit, but both junglers just backed off.
Nice job so far from Keane, farming within the minions and getting Pirean to actually do some good damage to them as well. Getting his lane pushed, but also being able to push in Pirean.
Yeah, top lane though. Seraph able to get himself a small CS advantage and back, not having to use his teleport either. Whereas Ssumday has kind of done the same already. Interesting that you would see the Jayce be about the same CS. How's that? Look at that, Lod knocked up, can't follow up.
Crashing towards the top. That was that re-engage we were talking about from the Thresh. LirA in the top side as well, looking to put some damage onto Ssumday and maybe get a teleport out of that play. And I'm not surprised at how hard Apollo and Hakuho are going, but once that level 6 comes up for Ssumday, they do have to be careful on the Shen ultimate. Yep. Ssumday himself,
pretty close.
Pretty careful here.
Yeah, both pretty close to that level 6. Ssumday gonna hit it very shortly. And this is where Chaser is going to hang out on the side. Don't know if he's going to do anything, though. Hey, he actually just checks the bottom side jungle. They know that LirA's not on the bottom side jungle. Potential for a play. It's good to interrupt on the recall so they don't get the synchronized.
Wait on the back.
It's one of the best parts as well. In a duo, somebody else can start the recall for you. You just take the rest of it. Yeah, Apollo going for the crit-centric build, maxing E, the root or the feather pass-through, the blade collar. scales off critical strike chance. It's the build that we're seeing a little bit more commonly. There was a Blade of the Ruined King build that was bouncing around, but it seems like people are much more favoring these builds of the AD and crit as of late.
Seraph placing a deep ward down by the Gromp. Knows that the jungler's on the bottom side. Actually, a ping going down just quickly. Maybe be able to go a little hard here and keep Ssumday out of the game. We talked about Ssumday being on something strong, kind of carry the game. Definitely going to be a support one for him, a support style, I should say.
Yeah, nothing quite carry-oriented with that Shen, but I will say that Shen, towards the late game, can have that split push threat and split the map. But this is an EnVy composition that really is squishy, so I think being in the team fights for Dig is probably going to be the better suit. He can hold up against the split push of Seraph, but if you do pick a team fight, he has ways in with Lod and Chaser, so could see some great playmaking from Dig. But we talked about communication and them wanting to up it. This team needs communication, because if one person's engaging and the others aren't, that's a problem. That's a huge problem and could potentially lose you the game. And Dig really just want to have those clean engages, those clean catches.
Well, that's why we have Big now in the bottom here for these guys. A first pick on Thresh for the team. A lot of priority put there in the bot lane for him to feel comfortable and continue to keep vision around the map, continue to keep calls for just about each lane. Well, they decide to go from here. A lot of wards being placed in by EnVy. Wouldn't be surprised if something were to come about soon for them. Red buff being taken over by LirA. May even be able to scoop one over to Seraph at this point. It's an Ocean Drake first, so not drawing too much attention. Pirean coming back to the LCS, not too bad in lane, 76 to 69 on what was a third Syndra pick for them on the first round.
Yep.
Goes up against Keane.
Wanted to make sure that they kept their jungler as well as their top laner safe in terms of picks.
Yeah. Was actually very safe in that sense.
Yeah, it was very interesting because it's also a bit of a deny. They took the Syndra, the Jayce, knew what it was playing into. Apollo, looked like he wanted to maybe make a play there, because LirA was there to follow up.
Everybody's pretty hesitant at this point. The hook hit, it wasn't even a change of play in Apollo and Hakuho. They kind of took the fight as they were farming. Still no aggression from Lod and Big. LirA has not been able to find these ganks though. Coming through lane efficiently, can't get it to happen. And Dignitas is kind of playing with a sixth sense here to keep themselves out of range.
Yeah, Dig's comp, I mean, you could be like a big playmaking Thresh and try to like outplay bottom. Yeah. That's such high variance and very risky. Why not just scale? Wait for level 6 for your jungler. Great, maybe Rengar will ulti at some point. Maybe you'll have a Shen ulti. I feel like Dignitas, when we talked about they play best when they're playing reactive, EnVy are trying to play reactive right now, but they're shoving all their waves. And so Dignitas, though they're in this position where, hey, we're waiting for a play to happen on us. We'll see one maybe happen topside here, because Seraph has pushed this up. And we also have Xayah and Rakan, Apollo, Hakuho, have backed, and they're pushing up.
Bot lane turrets getting hit. They're probably going to call to Ssumday. There could be some tricky stuff going on towards the top. And it was a pretty early entrance here from LirA. Ssumday gets pushed off. They probably actually don't want to deal with him. They want the turret, so showing early doesn't even matter. Pushed off on the bot. First turret blood.
It's very close.
May go over to EnVy on this one. A few more shots. It looks like they will be able to pick it up.
Yep, EnVy get it first with the help of having 3 people who really do want to auto-attack it. The Spell Thieves as well will add damage to that turret every time you hit it. And Rift Herald started up by LirA. Daisy's going to be taking the brunt of the damage. It's a 10-minute Rift Herald trying to push it forward. We talked about the early game for EnVy having the best in the league in spring.
He's going to get help, right?
He can run around it. He can solo this thing.
Oh, he'll be good now with the shield. He'll get Hakuho as well with the Battle Dance. And a heal. Solid.
It's a bummer. The eye won't open once it's at its last bit of HP percentage-wise. So once it goes down past 2K, hold on though, Pirean, ulti from Lod.
Do a fight, Lod, one more shot, he's gonna be taken down. It looks like Pirean could be all right on this one. Yeah, he's good, he's good.
He's good,
Squeeze tight, he's out.
Ooh, but they got the Rift Herald, it's on LirA right now. Doesn't have much mana to actually do anything here.
Ward Wars. Ward Wars, a shot over the wall, Seraph doesn't even take it. And they just hold up for a fight here. They don't know what's on the other side of an unwarded mid.
Another Sightstone for Ivern, for LirA. It's really interesting that we're seeing that more and more here. Instead of just going for the Tracker's Knife, people are really valuing that HP very highly here on Ivern. as well as having another ward.
Yeah, the wards that LirA's been placing all around the jungle are very apparent. Still hovering on the top side, you can just see Ssumday clear as day. And now they have lane and the bot pushing. So continuing with Hakuho to push the wards up. The vision game has been pretty crazy here for him.
Yeah, and LirA setting up the Rift Herald mid. They knew that the back came through from Orianna. This turret, though, very healthy. And this just seems like one to put pressure on it. I'm just going to take it right down. That was underwhelming Rift Herald. He still had about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes on it before he had to throw it down. They just wanted something in that mid lane. Interesting.
I feel like it can become really efficient if you get the 2 shoulder wards down, which is over in the Raptor pit and the one off to the right that would come down from Baron. Then you can at least know what's behind it and step to the turret and get some damage with the huge Rift turret.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like they really wanted to actually go for anything there. They just wanted control of the bottom side of the map. That was one of those, let's just throw it out for damage. Yeah. Rift Heralds, a freebie. No first blood still, 13 minutes in. Playing defensively on EnVy's side, and Dignitas haven't really seen any of those combos.
Big, and the team finally making their way in. He wants to be able to defend this. Moby boots almost get him in range, except for Battle Dance getting Hakuho out. Summoners are up around the map. We're looking at Pirean to have his 2 down due to that last engage in the mid lane where he found 3 members of Dignitas. Dig will probably rinse and repeat, start to bring more members back here as we see them hovering around the Dragon Pit.
They're just looking for picks. Lod keeps coming into the lane as Twitch. Stealth. And then we also see Chaser just on the side. But EnVy are just playing safe as well. But I do feel like they get outscaled by Dignitas' comp slightly here. But not by a glaring margin or anything like that. Xayah scaling is actually quite good, especially when you're engaging on her. The Ivern will fare very well in the late game. It's just the Jayce, who has to kind of get his split push on early. It's interesting as well because he's going for a Blade of the Ruined King. Right here, though, Hakuho gonna face check, gets caught.
Oh, they just
turning it around.
Pink ward in that brush. Apollo trying to do what he can as he throws down the ultimate. Seraph comes in, he goes to the skies, he's already in hammer form, so it's going to be real scary for him as he tries to flash to the back of the pit. Good damage from LirA. Hakuho trying to get up.
LirA got first blood.
Be backing out of this one. Lod is down in the fight. Chaser to the backside here. Ssumday's going to give himself up for the rest of the team. Keane not able to get in with a shockwave on a grouped up EnVy for that fight.
That was big. That was honestly just back and forth, but really the turnaround there. Playing against the Rakan, a lot of people are still not used to it, but EnVy were right in position to counter there. Good counter from Hakuho as well as Apollo. And these guys, we've had heavy criticism as well of Apollo not being like a very proactive player, but Xayah just seems like a champion that's great for him because if the fight starts, he's able to actually just turn it around. Because right here, you could get out as Hakuho, but instead turns on the quickness, taunts both of them, and then goes for the grand entrance for the knockup after. Seraph comes in, a lot of damage blocked there by Spirit's Refuge from Ssumday, and he tries to actually taunt up Seraph, but they don't have return damage there, they don't have their Orianna, they don't have Keane, and then Hakuho tries to make a play moving forward afterwards. LirA had already picked up Lod, who's a big damage dealer on this team. We talk about putting all your eggs in a basket. Lod is going to be the majority of this team's damage during the mid game. Keane will pick it up a little bit later, but if your Twitch is getting picked off like that and doesn't have the protection, then it's an issue. It's interesting too because he was picked up by an Ivern, which you don't really expect, but it still happened and LirA got that first blood.
Thanks to the brush.
Yep. Yeah, just pushes on both sides of the map here for turrets. Just trying to open up the map a little bit wider.
Talked a little bit about the kiting. But we didn't talk really about the disengage these guys can do. And then to the kite, they hit Apollo or they hit Hakuho. It's a battle dance or it's the quickness out, right? You have so much committal to that first hit that Dignitas kind of was left wondering, well, who do we hit next? How do we engage next? Very tricky there from EnVy. So now that Dignitas know, probably won't be hitting that as quick next time and be sure of which target they are going to grab.
Exactly. Dignitas weren't really that great at proactive plays during the spring. Like we said, always look better being reactive. That was a play that they started again and it backfired. And this is a comp that you can make those proactive plays. They were looking for some with the Twitch constantly stealthing into lane, but we haven't really seen like an ultimate from Chaser where he's trying to get a pick. And look at this Big trying to shore that up.
There's the hook. Oh, what a good hit from Hakuho, denying the rest of the damage with the shockwave from Keane. Finds its true targets. Pirean and Hakuho are down.
Not everybody there from Envy, and a great turnaround from Dignitas. That was a great hook from Big to start it up, but then a follow-up from Keane. The guy has so much damage already, highest CS in the game, and he's been doing work. That's why that last fight didn't go their way either.
Right. Imagine, again, if we had that shockwave in the last fight. Holy moly. And he's still going to go back now with a bit of gold in his pocket on those 2 assists. Chaser trying to do what he can to get this Drake for his team. Get a little help from Big, possibly. Big going around to the back. Chaser says, I got it. Just give me the lantern to get to safety.
Yep. Not even going to smite it.
Cool guys don't smite.
Yeah, going to go for the red, smite that.
So top lane working on a bit of Seraph in favor of Seraph here, knowing the pressure was bought. He gets to throw more wards on this top side of the jungle and push, but we'll see this engage one more time, even on a ward. Pirean disrespecting the play.
Yeah, Pirean too close to the wall, didn't have any options except to move closer to Keane to try and dodge, but you don't want to do that. And nice follow-up there. Keane, I believe he already had Merc Treads by that point, so the quickness actually lasted less time and was able to just go for the Orianna Shockwave and pick him up.
Like a honeybee.
I love Ivern. All those voice lines he has. 191 to 164. We'll see now what Keane can do. Gets himself Merc Treads as well, as you said, to keep those plays going and keep Orianna true to her lore, dancing around the map. Hakuho now seeing what he can do, trying to be global for the team and get these wards down. Envy still keeping their vision up, but they gotta keep the turrets up because the vision will just fall regardless.
Getting picked apart a little bit here. Dignitas are just grouping and splitting. Now there's no more of those inner turrets, or those outer turrets, sorry, for Dignitas to take. They have to play for those deeper objectives, and they can't be scared to do that. Seraph pushing down bottom, still doing his split push thing. Went for the Blade of the Ruined King first to try and do some percent HP damage and to sustain himself in the split. It'll work a bit versus Ssumday, but ultimately he does have to find a way to push this Shen out.
Combo back top once again. It looks like the team actually has an idea of something to go down here. They have lost a little bit of vision of what they had previously, but Envy has continuously gone with an idea so far if they have it. Seems like they actually pull off.
It's very difficult for them to find something right now. For both teams, Dignitas aren't doing the engage with the Rengar or the Twitch right now with Shen or the flanks. Right. They're just very afraid of the fact that there's disengage on Envy's side. But also Seraph, if you do make a play as Dignitas, it means your Shen is no longer in that lane, and Seraph could get a turret if it's properly disengaged by the rest of his team. It's a little paralyzing to try and make something happen.
This is good as well. Bring it to the teleport. You're not going to be tricked by him showing up in lane, and then you bring the team down. Just going to go ahead and organize everybody in the same spot. A flash being blown, a Seraph overstaying his welcome after a taunt from Ssumday. And mid lane is going to be pushed here. Lod and Big trying to make a call. Sorry, Lod and Keane. And have to watch their right side as they do not have vision.
Yeah, push up mid. Try to route them that way. What's the Baron status look like here for this team? There's no wards in this area. They don't really respect that. And Keane's just going to drop out of vision and back. Pick himself up Luden's Echo, so a good back for him.
They're playing around each other.
Yeah.
It's like, how can we avoid each other even more game right now?
Both teams seem like they just don't want to play into the other team's hands.
Yeah.
But Dignitas, I will say, just scale, like I said before.
I mean, so they're happy right now.
Yeah, they're pretty happy. They don't really have to make gigantic plays or anything like that. They can just scale up and wait. Envy, kind of the same boat, but not entirely.
It's interesting as well, and it obviously doesn't have to play to this, but you see these games kind of go more even. Dignitas will try to make a few plays. If they don't, it almost puts them in that situation where then they do have to say, do we position for a Baron jockey? Do we go back to that? If the game's kind of almost manifested itself in the end, once you can't find anything.
Exactly. Is it a dig Baron again? We'll see. Envy, not really the greatest of early games here either. I mean, we talked about how they were the best early game team in spring with LirA's aggression, but the Ivern, very different style champion for him. Mostly focused on vision control and taunted out here.
Bit of a hit. There we have the ultimate from Chaser. Does not look like they're going to find too much. LirA should be able to get out of this one alive. The redemption comes down from himself. It's a little bit of self-healing there. Bot lane's pushing very nicely right now for Dignitas. They have some time to play here, as Envy will have to respect that.
Yeah, Seraph's going to go down bottom and pick that wave up and just grab all that CS and put him out to a pretty decent advantage over Ssumday. But Ssumday still has both globals and can still kind of pull them across the map. But this Baron, I think you at least go for a start or a feint here. This is a Dignitas Baron, and I think this is easy. I think they get this. They just saw Twitch go in there.
Oh, Big's going to try to play defense on the outside. The boxes there very, very low. The Baron also is not taking too much damage. Great damage coming in from Keane and Big. Pirean almost goes down as Hakuho flies in with the ultimate. Baron's down to 2,000 HP. This is smite range. Everybody's in. It goes to Chaser. Dignitas now needs to make it out safely as Envy is ready to engage. It's all range though. They have to get to that spot. Seraph can't do it now. They've been slowed. Good hits from Dignitas coming in. The Venom cast stopping the engage.
Oh, Ssumday makes it out.
Teleport in coming from Ssumday. He actually went to get that stand united on his teammate. Gets hit up in the mid. Nicely done.
The stand united is faster as well. It takes 3 seconds as opposed to the 4.5. So he used that to get out right in time. If he had TP'd, that would have been him getting knocked up. Huge there as well from Dignitas, getting the Baron at 22 minutes. I was talking about how the vision of Envy was really lacking around the pit. I thought they were going to go for it at 20, but then they set it up appropriately, and then you saw Seraph down bottom answering that gigantic slow-pushing minion wave. Exactly what they should have done. That Baron, that came to like a 50-50 at the end, but they almost picked up Pirean at the beginning, and they could have gotten some picks on the way there as well.
True to history.
Yeah, and speaking of Pirean, currently down 2 levels behind Keane, who's been having a great performance so far on this Orianna. Up 40 CS, has those 2 assists to his name. And he's going to be that mid-game insurance. Talk about Lod being that, you know, that person that they're putting the eggs in the basket for.
Yeah.
But I think Keane is that insurance as well. The Orianna, even though defensive in most compositions that want to protect a Twitch or a hypercarry, still can deal a ton of damage in team fights. It shouldn't be underestimated.
It's like one of them flies under the radar for a bit, and then you see his damage, and then you get hit up by Keane, and then you know you have to dodge it from 2 areas on the map.
You're watching for the flank from Twitch, who's got like a shield from the Shen, and then you lose track of the ball, and you can just completely lose the team fight off of that.
Where's Chaser gonna go? They are just creating a human wall throughout Envy's jungle now. It's gonna be very hard to get from turret to turret unless they route all the way down through their base, which means more time for Dignitas to get with these turrets. Pushed off in mid here. This is where the poke somewhat plays out for Envy if they aren't getting swamped by minions at their turrets.
Yeah, I don't even know how much the poke sticks either. The Jayce pick for top just seems like comfort, and this is where that small feeling of like hopelessness for Envy's comp kind of sinks in, where you're like, man, their mid lane's behind. They'll get obliterated by a shockwave. They have the ball combo where you can throw it on Shen, throw it on Rengar. They have the protection of the Shen. I'm not winning the split push as much as I should. We'll see here.
All right, that's some good damage.
Yeah, here comes Chaser though. It's a 2v1. He was, it was baited.
That's unfair. That's he gets unfair. Oh! Pirean there as well. Gets a kill for himself. Almost gets the hit onto Chaser.
That's fair.
The scatter.
Comes in, makes it a 2-on-2.
Tag me in, bro.
Picks him up.
They needed that, at least to get a little bit of breathing room. The Baron being pushed in more than one lane is just too much for Envy to handle right now. And Keane knows Pirean's still doing a bit of damage now that he's got a few items. We'll back off with LirA on the way.
Both top laners blowing their flashes, though. Seraph was winning that 1v1, but it was really one that Ssumday was sticking around for. And Envy, like I said, that hopelessness is starting to kind of sink in. You're really relying on, hey, this split push has to work, or the engage has to work, but they're not going to be in the same spot here on Dignitas unless you really force something first. Yeah, Seraph. Good follow from Chaser here, but the 4 stacks missed the first route, got the second, and then the taunt flash from Ssumday put him right in range for Pirean to just get the pick up there.
Love seeing this composition again. A Venom Cask from Lod into a hook from Big, starting off the fight with the Thresh and the Twitch. It ain't easy being green, but they're trying. They're trying. 3-3, 27 minutes in, a pretty neck-and-neck game, but Dignitas has found the structures, the map control, and they've really been able to put themselves on top with just those small advantages, continuing to mount on each other. Be a little bit before Ssumday can push up this bottom wave. The rest of the team will be happy to take a kill if they can get it, but staying safe for the time being.
Yeah, just going between turrets, getting those tier 2s. This has always kind of been the worst part for Dignitas, is getting to that base. They've had some early advantages in spring, but it was really just pushing it forward. A lot of that is communication too, having the team understand, have that game knowledge, and play relative to each other. They've gotten some mid-turret damage, looking towards bottom because it's been shoved out, and top is getting shoved in. I think this is great. Now they get a lot of damage on this turret. This is potentially this turret going down.
Yeah.
EnVy doesn't have a tank line to actually threaten this, and because of this rotation, it's just way better, and EnVy just pick up that turret.
A lot of pings going down mid lane. They feel like they can get the backs and route Dig and just push this one wave down for maybe one, maybe a top two. Yeah,
top lane turrets being pushed in. Ssumday, or sorry, not Ssumday, we're having Lod back for that, as well as Chaser. You know, try to pick that one up. But now EnVy get to push mid and get to push that top turret too. They didn't stick around for the damage there. We're a little bit afraid of Chaser potentially ulting and Ssumday ulting him too. So even though Chaser was still like tier 2 turret in the middle of the lane, they were respecting that.
Already got that Knight's Vow from LirA.
Yeah, he's actually gone for a build where the Ruby Sight Zone, we're seeing it way more from Ivern's than I had actually anticipated.
Right.
The early Sight Stone, they get rid of their jungle item because you're never going to upgrade it anyway. And then the Ruby Sight Stone is health. 4 wards, your team is just swimming in wards and vision, but also it's the active cooldown reduction. So his redemption is off the cooldown faster than normal as well.
Ssumday, not having fun, gets charmed up, is able to get out.
He's out, has a lantern.
He drew 2 ultimates and a flash. Very nicely done.
Yeah. Only having to burn pretty much nothing. Just his own resources there.
Like it.
No flashes. Didn't have his, so they thought it was easy pickings, but Big was in the right place at the right time. Baron also in 30 seconds.
Is this Dignitas one step ahead? Seraph trying to make EnVy climb that ladder a little bit faster, but top lane now, Lod is on the move as he continues to go in and out of stealth for speed. Chaser's just able to run it down with him in the stealth squad towards the top side here. We'll see what they can do in a 3v4 v2 situation. Their third big coming up on the left side here, and so is Keane as they try to dance themselves. Do a good spot. They will be able to. And EnVy now trying to stop a turret going down. Really just kind of waste resources at top.
That ward doesn't see them. They don't want to kill it. They don't want to hit it and give away their position. They're doing Baron again. Dignitas, have they mastered it? Have they made Baron their pet worm? Doesn't look like it.
It's healing. It's healing.
So I was like, oh my god, have they done it? Have they cracked the code?
It's like the fog of war gets you at that point. You're like,
have they done it?
Where's the Baron health at?
They pulled off of it, and apparently they still have those nightmares every now and then. But look at that! A nightmare!
Blade in. Do they lock it down? No kills.
Wait.
Ignite? Yes, it's enough. Big comes up with it and the poison from Lod. Never underestimate the double dots.
And now you go clear out that pit. Ssumday will push out the bottom side of the map. Seraph can't answer him, so this mini wave will go all the way towards that back, towards that bottom turret. And now, do you play for another pick? Do you wait for another hook? Play around Big? First pick Thresh? Working out? New guy? I don't know. Seems to work so far. Is this the process? Is this clear out wards? Allow Ssumday to split push? Just keep going for hooks and baiting Baron?
One thing for sure, they have their call to do it or the call to stop has been synced up for the entire team. Here we'll see one more time. Can they go 3 for 3 on those calls as EnVy looks to make a move. Ssumday first over the wall. Doesn't want LirA to be able to get a chance. And he's actually forcing LirA right out of the fight. It's going to be the root caller onto Big.
Oh, yeah, he went in.
Not going to have any flashes over. That means he seals his fate. And Keane comes up with the kill on that one after all the back and forth. they do choose to go for it.
Yeah, and that just feels like a desperation move because the game is getting away from them. They aren't in a position after Seraph got caught to even go for that barrier, to contest it in vision. Dignitas have the better straight-up team fight and front-to-back team fight as well with the Shen. So you can't face check it. You have to just throw wards over the wall, and Dig played that right. Dig get themselves that bear, and they put bait in it appropriately, picking it up. They're getting more turrets. They might crack the base, but that wave clear seems to be a little bit too strong at this moment.
They have minions in every wave. Looks like they'll grab the ocean if they even want to. They should, just because it'll be uncontested. And back to do this once again, use the Baron buff at full, and make sure they get more out of it.
Keane, level 18 already. This right here, the taunt onto LirA, pushing him back. And then right here, the flash over. Big actually flashes into the root collar and plays him as well. So makes it so that LirA would be super late to the flash in if he went for it, and it would give so much time for Chaser to actually go for the smite. Really well played there to just 100% try and guarantee that LirA can't get in right as the smite would be coming through.
Ssumday finishing up his Gargoyle Stone Plate. They get just more and more resistances under their belt here.
Now, Gargoyle Stone Plate is such a good item as well, especially if you're team fighting. It's got that 40 armor and MR, and then if there's 3 champions around you, it grants 3 enemy champions around you. It grants you 40 more bonus armor and MR, which makes it incredibly cost efficient. So if you're split pushing, it's not that great, but if you are actually in a team fight, it's incredibly worth just from a stats perspective. But then you increase your health by 100%. For 4 seconds afterwards. Hold on. Look at that.
Nice. Shockwave on Pirean and Seraph coming in. Will EnVy be able to retaliate? Apollo's on the outside firing in, but he is just chipping away at the brick wall. And now they're going to chase down Apollo. It could be a clean wipe, but Pirean made it out to the bottom and made it out safely. The base, however, is in a different situation.
Exactly. They have that Baron buff, and they're going to go straight for that inhibitor. They're going to push for even more. This might be game here, Riv.
Dignitas putting the pedal to the metal around 20 minutes in. Consistent Baron calls with cleared vision and cleared calls, and they are going to go 9 and 3 on the last Nexus turret. Another hook from Big, the first pick Thresh in their first Summer Split game of the LCS, and they will take down the Nexus to take down game 1.
Slow early game. They knew that they scaled. Dignitas waited for the opportunity, and then the Baron baits. The 2 Baron plays that they made were very good and put them in a position to command the game. And then it was the fell swoop. It was the quick dive in, catching out EnVy, who looked like their early game with Hakuho roaming around the map might be off to a good start, but LirA didn't have that same superstar performance that we knew from him back in spring, where he would have such a great early game. And this was just a very calm game throughout until Big landed a hook. They were waiting for those moments where the split push and the waves are right, or Big is getting an engage, Keane's able to follow.
And looking at how they kind of drafted these ones, it was almost a kind of storybook. We saw that happening in chapter 20 minute for EnVy. If the poke comp hadn't gotten ahead, they're going to fall behind. And Dignitas was actually able to, as you said, get past that kind of stopper for them and find a way to end the game, which is something we find being a problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem for Dignitas in the past, but right now this game was pretty methodical from them. The Baron baits I really liked. They tested EnVy's vision, but they had 2 sight stones on EnVy's side, and this was still a lapse in their
huge early game vision from them, which was slowing Dignitas down. Then we get a little bit more into the game. We go 17 minutes in for a replay, and Dignitas finds that 2-0 in the mid lane, and then the game starts to open up a little bit. A little disrespect here, as we said, from Pirean, thinking he had the distance.
And this was just a great hook from Big to start it off, and then he's able to get the follow-up from Keane right on top of 2 members, as Hakuho, who had been doing some great early game moves, ended up trying to save a lot of those plays, because Pirean did get hooked and did get dropped there, and that was really kind of, I wouldn't say the beginning of the end, because that took a long time to actually amount to it, but really Pirean was suffering in the mid lane against Keane, who was always up in CS, always up in levels over him, and showed that, you know, Keane still has it, still didn't really miss any beats from last split.
And it was a very quiet mid lane overall. We did see those two flash or the summoner spells blow in the beginning and things kind of went off from there. Before that, it was a mid lane that was flying under the radar.
Yeah, and even if you look at CS, it's 34 minutes is when the game ends. Keane has 380. He's been picking up so much farm, trying to get that Orianna to level 18, trying to be this very effective Shockwave team fighter that stops EnVy's composition from even wanting to group ever. But I definitely feel like he played this very well. Keane kind of went under the radar, like you said. One of the big standouts in this game for me, though.
Once we did see the Shockwaves, it was some wows. We'll replay the game ender. 33 minutes, a 4-0 for Dig. And this was, they finally had EnVy running around. They found him in the group.
Yeah, great taunt there from Ssumday, hitting two key members in the backline. Seraph and Pirean both really just shredded at the start of the fight, and then it's completely scattered from there. There's no front line. You're being flanked in from multiple directions. It's just the fight was started off right, and then the finish was exactly what they needed to. But really, that Shockwave, the taunt Shockwave, can't avoid it at that point. It's too late. It's already happened, and you're dead. So they had so much gold behind that Orianna to really make that play happen.
So what are we thinking for EnVy coming into this next one? A Thresh ban maybe? Or what can they think to do?
I feel like EnVy need to just draft a little bit more aggressive for LirA early, and they need a more cohesive comp, because I just don't like this composition as a whole. I like Diggs more because they have multiple ways. You're thinking of this classic composition, put the ball on the Rengar, put it on the Shen, Shen will ulti whoever's going to go in. You have protection. Like, this is a great composition from Dignitas to play around with and play multiple ways. It's very fluid. EnVy's is like Seraph split pushes, everybody else do their own thing. Hakuho maybe look for a play. It's like this team can't really team fight ever. If you get behind, even if you're ahead, this is one that's like you had to be so far ahead to force your will on the enemy team by just being a presence, because you don't have engage otherwise. Maybe you siege, but at that point, against the Shen, you just get engaged on. Against the Rengar, you just get engaged on. So I would like to see a different style composition for Team EnVy, especially against the one that Dignitas had drafted.
So it seems like the synergy was there for EnVy, just not with the composition coming together in game.
Yeah.
We've got game 2 between EnVy and Team Dignitas coming up in just a few minutes. As we had to break, Zirene was kind enough to give us a breakdown of some of the big changes hitting the competitive scene this split.
How nice. Another year, another mid-season update. There's reworked champions, new items, and even buffs to this girl. So what's OP, and what are we going to see from the pro teams as they step out onto the Rift? Let's find out in the mid-season preview as we kick things off with champions. The tank update saw Sejuani, Maokai, and Zac have significant reworks. Let's start with the junglers, who I think will have the biggest impact on pro play. With nerfs to aggressive junglers like Graves and Lee Sin, tank junglers are primed to come back into the meta, and Zac is a perfect fit.
I was made for this, literally.
His reworked Q has increased the speed of his jungle clear, keeps him healthier with more blobs, and provides additional CC in a fight. Zac's rework also kept his core competitive strengths intact, his long engage range, ability to gank mid from unique angles, and his tanky late game pattern. Throw on a new ultimate that can abduct enemies to either disengage them or pull them closer to his team, and Zac has it all. Sejuani is another tank jungler we may potentially see. Her passive makes her difficult to exploit, and her reworked permafrost has vastly improved her clear. This means she doesn't have a lot of the same weaknesses as other tank junglers. There's also the chance that she gets flexed around to other roles, like top or even support. And if a composition is looking for a little more CC and tankiness, Sejuani is definitely your girl. So what does this mean for the NA LCS? In spring, the jungle was dominated by players who excelled on aggressive, carry-oriented junglers. These changes will favor junglers who prefer to play a damage-absorbing disruptive style, like Reignover, who struggled in spring but might once again find his MVP form and help bolster Liquid out of their slump.
Let's show them what we got!
Happily!
Now I want to take things down to the bottom lane. During the offseason, Xayah has emerged as one of the strongest markswomen. She has deceptive range from her passive, and feathers that dissuade playmaking with her ability to root those who don't watch their surroundings. If enemies do make it close to Xayah, she can also go untargetable, which is invaluable in pro play, as the ability to outplay and self-peel are crucial tools for ADCs. On his own, Rakan won't be as influential as his partner, but he can't be ruled out completely. He has a ridiculous amount of playmaking potential and could be picked up by supports that favor style. If the duo are ever going to take to the Rift together in pro play, then the bot lane I can see making the most out of their kit would be Aphromoo and Stixxay. The synergy they've developed over the past year and a half on CLG should be perfect for this champion duo. There have been significant changes to items across all roles, and we're going to start with the support quests that have been added to each of the 3 starting support items. Spell Thieves now gives you a 50% movement speed burst when you proc Tribute. This means that champions like Karma, Brand, and Xayah will be harder to lock down, and will have ways to close the gap unexpectedly to make their crowd control easier to land. This is better than the shield from Targon's, and far better than the skill point from Ancient Coin, which usually happens too late into the game for it to be truly impactful. Still keeping things in the bot lane, there are a few new options for ADCs in pro play. What's most interesting for the role is the changes to Runan's Hurricane. With the removal of on-hit damage from the secondary bolts, but the increased AD ratio, building a Runan's and Infinity Edge together will mean critting Hurricane bolts do the same damage as an auto attack. That's 3 autos for the price of 1, or 2,600 gold. This could see champions like Caitlyn and Jinx challenge the Blade of the Ruined King meta that was so prevalent at the end of spring. So keep your eyes on ADCs who have shown a propensity to carry, like Spring Split MVP Arrow or TSM's Doublelift, who comes back at a great time in the meta for his carry mentality. Now, we're going to take things to the top lane to talk about the changes to this girl. In Spring Split, the Rift Herald was underwhelming. Now that the Rift Herald is a turret-smashing behemoth, it will become highly contested. With the increased emphasis on Rift Herald, top lane is wide open, as long as your champion has a clear and effective way to establish dominance. Once they win the lane, secure Rift Herald, get the turret, and win game. These changes become even more interesting when you consider that top lane also happens to be one of the most stacked lanes in the LCS. The changes to Rift Herald are going to make for some explosive LCS action. Which teams will adapt the fastest and take control of Summer Split? Find out as the NA LCS kicks off on June 2nd.